From accelerating large-scale industrial design to Hannah's interior design,
I know you were asking about how the lighting was gonna look.
Nvidia powers the world's AI and yours.
I'm going to make this a very, very quick and short video. Jensen Huang's net worth passed Intel's market cap. Nvidia's share value is once again on the rise, boosting CEO Jensen Huang's net worth. According to the latest data from Forbes 400, which ranks the richest people in America, Huang's fortune now sits at $104 billion. That's more than the total worth of fellow chip maker Intel, whose market cap is currently $96.43 billion. Nvidia has been at the forefront of the AI revolution since early 2023, and its shareholders have been rewarded accordingly. The company's stock more than tripled in value last year, and the meteoric rise continued into 2024. Values corrected a bit over the summer, but things have been trending upwards once again as of late. AI is showing no signs of slowing down, and that is great news for one of the leading hardware suppliers. I've said this a million times. These people, these old guys like Jim Cramer and all these old men who invest in AI, these people don't really understand what they're investing in. I've been saying this for long periods of time. What you're really investing in with Nvidia is a video game graphic manufacturer. Now, they obviously make other things because they're also involved in sound cards and stuff like that. But the bottom line is, when you really, really look at what you're investing in, you're looking at the fact that there's a bunch of these kids, high school kids, college kids, lining up in front of Micro Center, Best Buy, Walmart, anybody who'll carry this stuff, to pay anywhere between $500 and $2,000 for a video card that allows their graphics on their video games to be just a little bit better. Nothing happens within a bubble. Keep in mind, Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming soon. When Grand Theft Auto 6 hits, that shit is going to probably have people building all new computers because they're going to want to have the best possible graphics that they can have. The last time I built up my computer was when Cyberpunk was released, and that's when I got the 3090, and that was before they released the 4090, and I got that too. But I built up my computer specifically because of Cyberpunk, and the 2080 Ti I had, which these things are all graphics cards, that 2080 Ti was working, it was okay, but it just wasn't as good as the 3090. And the 3090, when I put that bad boy in, I saw an immediate jump and improvement in the graphics, like the lighting effects, the frame rates. It was like night and day. Now, you've convinced a bunch of these kids to take their money and spend it on these graphics cards. These things are $2,000 graphics cards. These things are more expensive than buying a new iPhone. A new iPhone's like $1,700 when you factor in the taxes. These things are expensive, and these kids have been convinced that they have to go out and buy the newest one. Then you also have a pool of YouTubers who rush out and they buy all this new computer hardware. So the long story short is that Nvidia is basically correlated with video gaming. Now, I understand that they make this AI technology, and AI is the big thing, and everybody wants AI and everything, and blah, blah, blah. Just like they promised us in The Matrix, where AI is going to destroy the world and shit. Just like they promised us in Terminator. It's like, yeah, they created these goddamn robots, and they were hooked into the fucking nuclear missiles, and they decided to just blow humanity up. Well, apparently people are willing to spend money in order to make sure that happens. You'd think that people would be trying to avoid it. Not these people. These people are stupid. But what we've gotten is the ability to make AI graphics, where you can just ask the computer to draw something and it just draws it. And we've gotten crazy AI art and comics and AI music and all this craziness. And people are pushing for AI. Now, Nvidia is at the forefront of AI. Nvidia is doing a better job with AI than Apple is doing with AI. Apple couldn't even have Apple Intelligence. They couldn't even have that shit ready for the iPhone 16 to launch. And it looks like it may not be ready for another year. It looks like it may take months just to get it up and running. It may run by Christmas, but even then, a lot of the features aren't even going to work. So this is serious business. And this whole AI thing, this is a money maker. So I said I'm not going to talk too long, but the reality is, coming up very soon, like they talk about what's going on over at Nvidia, but the bottom line is, coming up very soon, January 6th, Nvidia is going to be doing its keynote. Now it's interesting that they picked January 6th, since we all know January 6th is now infamous, and it's related to Trump and his alleged attempt to take over the government. But January 6th is going to be big news. And very recently, Super Microcomputers has done a stock split. And I believe it was October 1st. And their stock right now is about $48 a share. So that means before the split, it was like $481 a share or something like that. And then it split 10-1. So right now, Super Microcomputers, I'm gonna show it real quick, but Super Microcomputers is relatively affordable. Then on top of that, there was Broadcom, and their symbol is AVGO, Avgo. I just call it Avgo. They did a stock split. Now, their stock was way more expensive before, but right now it's like 165. I'll look at it in a minute. It's 165 or something dollars a share, but it pays a dividend. Super Microcomputers currently does not pay a dividend. Right now is the time to buy any of these AI tech stocks, because first of all, the Dow. What's amazing, like I remember when Kramer was going crazy about Dow 13,000. Now we're at Dow 42,000. Now the Dow did drop like 400 points, but we're basically at Dow 42,000, give or take. There's a good possibility we're going straight to Dow 43,000, because now that the Federal Reserve has decided to start dropping these interest rates, it appears that now you have more people who are willing to invest right now, which ultimately that's the problem with dropping interest rates, because when you drop interest rates, it means it's easier to borrow on margin. When you drop interest rates, you're basically allowing inflation to make its way back into the stock market. See, one of the things that a lot of people don't seem to realize is when we had COVID, when we had lockdowns, one of the things I kept criticizing over and over and over was the fact that with 0% interest rates and the fact that you're handing these bastards these welfare checks, what they were doing, they're not taking that money and using it on food. Most of these kids live in their parents' basements or living in mommy's attic or their daddy's basement or whatever. What they were doing was they were taking that money and they were investing it into the market. So they were pumping up valuations of most of these companies, trillions of dollars. Apple, they were buying Apple products because obviously they were at home and they needed certain things for school. But for the most part, they're buying gaming stuff. They were buying Apple products, Microsoft products, Nvidia hardware. They were pumping these tech markets up. And not just the tech market, they were pumping these cryptocurrencies up, which is the reason why most of these things went really high during like the 0% interest rate. But as soon as 2021 came and the Fed started raising interest rates when we basically went to proxy war with Russia, all of a sudden you saw all of that stuff crash. Everything crashed. Now, it didn't crash permanently because there is no permanent crash. As long as there's like no nuclear war, yeah, it's like there's no permanent crash. It's just like with oil. It goes up, it goes down. Sometimes it goes down real, real low, and you get in like me on the ground floor when the shit goes negative. Sometimes it goes real, real high, like it did when we put sanctions on Russian cheap oil. We had been importing all this cheap Russian oil. It was like 600,000 barrels of that Russian oil was coming in within like every single month. We're getting more than 600,000 barrels. And they put those sanctions on, and all of a sudden gas prices skyrocket. And that's the thing. These Democrats have done their best to keep energy prices high. And by keeping energy prices high, perhaps that's for this green agenda thing where, obviously they're moving towards electric cars. They're giving $1 billion to EVgo in order to build, and when I say giving, I mean it's a loan. It's a conditional loan. But they're building more of these chargers, and they have these things called rechargeries where Ion NA wants to build these gas stations that focus on electric vehicle charging. The government has already told you this is what they intend to do with your money. They've already told you this is the future. The government itself, the automakers themselves, you have to understand, it's not as easy. Oh yeah, but I want my V8. I want to be able to drive my V8. They don't give a fuck about your ego, and they don't give a shit about what you want to drive. The bottom line is, this government has realized that we're up against China, and China is not using militarism to fight us. They're using economics. I've said it 100 times. I had to argue with people. I don't even bother arguing with these people no more. China is going to be the bestest of friends with Africa. They're going to be the bestest of friends with Southeast Asia. They're going to be the bestest of friends with South America. They're going to stretch all the way across the world. They're going to be selling electric vehicles all the way around the world, BYD, MG, and all that shit. And see, what these stupid Americans don't seem to understand, these stupid morons, what they don't seem to understand is China doesn't have to use militarism to win. First of all, America's not even 400 years old yet. China is like thousands of years old. These people have lived this long by figuring something out. The bottom line is, Bruce Lee said it, it's the art of fighting without fighting. Like, if you remember Enter the Dragon, the art of fighting without fighting. And then he tricked the guy to get into the boat, and then the guy was stuck on the little boat. That's what they're doing. They are going to use electric vehicles and infrastructure partnerships, and they're going to take over the whole fucking world. Like, I already went to, just in case there's any Chinese people listening, I already went to Fudan University. I already started with my Mandarin lessons a long time ago. I lived in China for 2 years, and I started with my Mandarin, and I became a master in Mandarin and this, that, and other. I stayed over there. I was watching business and looking at Chinese business in Mandarin and whatever. I had teachers didn't even speak English, and I was like the best student because I was working so hard. Bottom line is, y'all better start teaching your kids Mandarin, because if you want them to be able to communicate, you're probably going to want to teach them Mandarin. That's the bottom line. But they're not using militarism. Like, I know everybody, but they're building up in the South China Sea, and they're trying to take over the Philippines, and they're trying to take over Thailand, and they're trying to take over Indonesia, and they're driving their boats near the Indonesian boats. And that's a sideshow. You people are so, like, it's like when a magician does a magic trick, and he puts on a little, like a little distraction. And everybody looks at the distraction, and meanwhile he's hiding the pigeons or something. It's like, y'all don't get it. That's what they're doing. They're not using America. That's all we have to offer is militarism. If you say something or do something, we just threaten to blow you up. China's not doing that. China is going to use electric vehicles, and they're going to use infrastructure partnerships. And they're going to basically do all the things that America didn't do. When America was in Africa and Europe was in Africa, or America was in Haiti and Europe, French were in Haiti, all they did was go in there, destabilize those governments, and fuck them people up. And they did that on purpose to keep those people down. China's not doing that. When China goes into Africa, they see, you guys don't have toilets? Okay, well, we're going to build like some plumbing and shit. We're going to put toilets here. Oh, you guys don't have lights after 8 p.m.? Oh, yeah, well, we're going to build some lights. Oh, you guys, I see you guys have that coltan, and you got that tantalum, and you got all that cobalt over there. Well, we're really interested in getting that from you. So I'll tell you what, we'll build, some wires and lights and plumbing and stuff, and then we're going to mine this place, and you'll have lights and plumbing and wire and shit, and we're going to take your cobalt and tantalite, we're going to make some fucking cell phone. That's how they work. Like, you people are stupid, and the people arguing with me, they just don't get it. Like, that's what they're doing, and they're literally showing you they're doing it. Like, while I was over there in Bali, while I was over there in Singapore, you felt that Chinese presence. You felt China's presence there. You didn't feel the CCP, but you felt the trade presence. It was omnipresent over there. You felt it. Trump says, oh yeah, well, if you try to bring them cars over here, we're going to put tariffs on it. Only thing that's helping is Elon Musk. And the thing about it is, because these cars have all these cameras and shit, these cars are a security risk. At any given time, China could say, yeah, you're not allowed to sell those cars here. Either that or you got to take all the cameras out. Now, if you take all the cameras out, what does that do to self-driving and all that stuff? It basically makes it so the shit don't work, because that stuff is required. You have to have cameras for the self-driving thing to work, because Elon took out the goddamn ultrasonic sensors. So if you don't have all them cameras in there because they claim it's a security risk, well, then you can't sell them there. Oh, yeah, well, if China did that, then America would counter, and they'd be like, oh, yeah, well, you're not allowed to sell them BYDs and all that stuff that has your cameras in it either, right? But China doesn't give a fuck. There's only like 350 million Americans, right? China can go to Southeast Asia and have access to over 1 billion people. Like, the numbers are in their favor. If they go to Africa, they can sell electric cars to, like, Kenyans, like the tribal people. Like, if they really want to, they can go there and sell these people cars for $10,000. Like, the most expensive feature would be shipping them to Africa. Like, America's in no position to do that. America's in no position. When I was in Singapore, yeah, you saw a couple of Teslas, but you didn't see as many Teslas as you saw them BYDs and those MGs and those Wulings. You saw way more of those than you saw Teslas over there. Now, they had Teslas over there, but the imports were so expensive. It was cheaper to just get a Chinese car. Now, I didn't see any Chinese cars bursting into flames. I was over there with Bali. I saw electric cars in Bali. I didn't see any of them blowing up and setting on fire. While we're busy playing politics here, these people are taking over. And I think free trade is a good thing. I think it actually drives prices down. But now you're talking about, oh, yeah, well, we're going to put tariffs on you. Tariffs ain't going to help. The American companies are terrified of the competition. And the reality is, all tariffs do is try to inundate them from the competition. But the reality is, the competition is light years ahead of fucking Tesla. The one thing Tesla has going for it is the supercharger network. So Elon can keep putting these cars out, and the interiors are shit, and the interiors feel like plastic toys that you buy from Costco. But the reality is, when you go over there and you check out them Chinese cars, those Chinese cars feel like quality products. And I never thought I'd say that, but that's the reality. They actually really feel like quality products. Now, you could be naysayers, but most of your parts for your cars right now are coming from there anyway. So there's really nothing you can really say, because even if you try, oh, yeah, I'd never buy a Chinese car. Well, you're sitting on basically all the materials that came from there, like right now. The computer program parts, the sensors, the chips, the freaking seat material, all that shit's coming from there. So you're basically already driving one for the most part. But yeah, that's, I'm not going to keep on ranting because, I said I was going to make this short. But Jensen Huang, this guy, January 6th, when he does that keynote, and he puts this RTX 5000 out, and these Blackwell chips. When he puts this stuff out, Microsoft is going up, everybody's going up. Microsoft, Apple, Intel, Micron, Amazon, everybody is going up. Because as they continue to put out this new equipment, AI just gets better and better and better. They're about to put out this 5000 RTX, and this thing, first of all, real quickly because I said I was going to stop, I have to rebuild my computer, but the current power supply unit that I have is only like 850 watts. I've got to get like 1,200 watts, because they're saying that this damn thing is going to by itself is going to require like a 600 watt PSU. And I also am waiting for Intel to put out the 15900K, because when I build this new computer, it's going to be state of the art. I have to get a Z890 motherboard. I'm going to get this DDR5 memory, possibly the 8,000 megahertz memory, like Kingston just put out, and it's only like $300, which is fine by me. But I'm gonna basically I'm gonna run so much freaking power in my computer. I might have to put a 15 amp circuit in my house just for my goddamn computer, because you're almost reaching the point now, like these things are drawing so much power that you're damn near reaching the point where you can almost melt your socket. Because you got to understand, a computer, the range of energy that it uses rises and falls. Like, I understand you have like a 5 amp circuit and everything, and it's 110 volts. The thing about it is, at peak power draw, you damn near could start a fire, because these things are using so much power. Like, you're using more power. Basically, my computer is going to use more power than my electric oven. That's crazy. And my electric oven's on its own 240 volt. But we're getting to the point where these things are demanding so much power. It's like having Skynet in your basement. That's what I'm saying. It's crazy. But I'm waiting. That's what I'm getting. I'm getting a 15900K. Getting the RTX 5090. I'm getting DDR5 memory. It's going to be like 64 gigabytes of memory. I don't think you need much more than that. And the reason why I need that kind of memory is because I played in flight simulators, and they use a lot of memory sometimes. 4 terabyte SSD, and it looks like I'm going to have no choice but to run that shit on Windows 11. So if that's what it is, I just got to do it that way. And the Z890 motherboard, but I'm going to have a 1200 watt PSU. That might end up being like the second most expensive part. Or, okay, it'll probably be the third most expensive part behind the GPU and the CPU. But, yeah, I'm excited. I got the money. I'm waiting. I got the money. I got it sitting on the side, waiting. And that's it. So it looks like if they're doing the keynote in January, we may start seeing those GPUs being launched by summer. In fact, it probably won't take that long. If he does the keynote in January, chances are he'll probably have those GPUs out by tax season, which will probably be closer to April or May. It might take 2 or 3 months. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. But I'm telling you, you want to position your stock portfolio? You make sure that you buy these stock splits, and you make sure, if you already have like Apple, Microsoft, and those things, you make sure that you have your portfolio as padded as you possibly can. Okay, I'm going to go to that right now. Okay, so I was ranting for about 22 minutes. I'm going to make this short, a little less than 8, I'll say, or about 8. About 30 minutes total. So anyway, the Dow Jones sank slightly below 42,000. We're at 41,954. It doesn't really matter. It's going to go right back up. As you can see, gold is still hanging around $2,655. I personally don't really buy gold because I really don't consider it as good a investment as dividend paying stock. Now, granted, there are some gold stocks that you can buy that do pay dividends. But I think a lot of the tech companies, you'll actually do a lot better, especially considering we know that there are certain events triggering their growth. Microsoft is $409, Apple $221. What is this? Nvidia is up $127. This is post-split. Google's $164, Amazon $180, Tesla's $240. So they're still doing pretty good. Intel, $22. Intel, I would say, is a decent buy. Keep in mind, Intel does pay a dividend, and right now it's 2.2%. Each share is $22. This is a good place to stick your money. As long as they continue to pay the dividend and everything, again, whether it dips or goes, I don't think it's going to dip too much lower. I mean, it did come down from 40 within the last year, so it can go back up, but the thing about it is right now it's low. AMD, $170. AMD has been quietly creeping back up. Nobody's been talking about it because of the... See, the thing, these old people, like, they just don't understand what they're dealing with. Like, you look at the last 6 months. Now, AMD was at a high of like $183 But over the last 52 weeks, it was at a high of $227. Believe you me, Nvidia is dragging AMD right behind it, because you got to understand, if Nvidia is preparing to release the 5000 series RTX, then that means that AMD is preparing to release its newest Radeon cards and its newest chips, because they try to time these releases similarly. So the thing about it is Nvidia is dragging everybody else behind it upwards. And this is the time to be buying these things. As you can see, Taiwan Semiconductor is also, steadily moving up. Basically, they all work along with Nvidia. They all seem to be tied with Nvidia as far as which direction that they're going to move. I would almost say that AMD is like a lagging indicator, and so is TSM. Micron, $102. Micron is definitely still worth buying. SMCI, as I was saying, they just had the stock split. You should definitely buy it. It's 10-1. AVGO, they just had a stock split, $175. Oil and gas and banks and everything. Yeah, obviously that's my bread and butter. You should definitely be buying those. But is there anything else worth talking? I don't think there's anything else really worth talking about, except the defense contractors. Lockheed Martin is $605. Turns out that, when you're at war, the defense contractors seem to do very, very well. Gee, I wonder why we're always at war. Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, Boeing. I own all of those. I also, I started out years ago by telling you about buying the airlines when they got low. The reason why I moved away from airlines is specifically because after COVID, they're really not going to be profitable anytime soon. So the most you could do is hope to flip them. So you could short them, flip them, short them. JetBlue is $7.23. I could buy JetBlue for the price of a McDonald's Happy Meal. It's crazy. Anything, I honestly, I think the only airlines worth buying are specifically the ones that, if they do happen to pay a dividend, specifically Delta, 1.22. But right now, I really wouldn't be putting money in Delta, because Delta's $49 a share. You could just as easily be putting that money in Super Microcomputer, And when the AI boom does happen, you'll appreciate me for it. Who else? SMTTI. These are all oil companies. The oil companies, as I've been saying, after this election's over, they're going right back up. Like they're only down a couple of percent points. But after that election's over, we find out who's going to be the president, I guarantee that shit's going right back up. Now, what I can say is if Trump does win, oil futures should be good. So you might actually be able to flip some money off that. Now, if Kamala and Biden, well, I'm sorry, not Kamala and Biden, because Biden's on his way out, literally. But if Kamala does win, you can bet that oil prices are going right back up, and you're going to be paying more at the pump. And that's it. All I can say is I warned you. But again, the main winning strategy, and that's where I'll probably start, the main winning strategy is banks and oil. If you buy the banks, even if you don't buy the oil, if you buy the banks, you can't lose. The credit cards, the banks, you can't lose. Like, there's just no way to lose. And I remember, they were talking all this about, the banks are dying, the banks are failing, the banks are crashing. Yeah, you're just talking about all those bullshit banks that you set up with those stupid names like First Republic and Second National and Third Republic and Fifth National and Morningstar Bank and all that. Those fake names, those fake banks, those things were nothing more than like shell companies. It's like, when they fall, it's like it's not a big deal. But see, I'm talking about too big to fail. I'm talking about J.P. Morgan Chase. I'm talking about Wells Fargo. I'm talking about Capital One. I'm talking about too big to fail. I'm not talking about them little stupid little banks that you see them like, and you can't understand how these banks are still open because you're like, wow, I don't even know anybody who does business there. I'm not talking about those little fake banks. Those things are like fronts. It's like, I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about too big to fail. Those are the ones you want to invest your money in. And the oil companies, same thing. First of all, the oil companies have no fear of going out of business. But when you invest in too big to fail oil companies, Chevron, Texaco, Exxon, BP, Valero, when you invest in too big to fail, oh, you ain't got to worry about nothing. All you got to do is sit back on your couch, watch your big screen television, and collect dividends. So that's basically all I got to say. I'm warning you, January 6th is coming. Nvidia is about to release keynote Jensen Huang. It's coming January 6th. You can thank me later.
This is the most advanced GPU in the world in production today. This is Hopper. Hopper changed the world. This is Blackwell. 208 billion transistors. There's a small line between two dies. This is the first time two dies have abutted like this together in such a way that the two dies think it's one chip. There's 10 terabytes of data between it, 10 terabytes per second. It's just one giant chip. When we were told that Blackwell's ambitions were beyond the limits of physics, the engineer said, so what? We're going to invent a new way for you to receive and operate software. This software comes basically in a digital box. We call it a container. And we call it the Nvidia Inference Microservice, a NIM. It's optimized depending on whether you have a single GPU, multi-GPU, or multi-node of GPUs. This is a piece of software in the future that has a really simple API, and that API is called Human. And these packages, incredible bodies of software, will be optimized and packaged, and we'll put it on a website. And you can download it, you could take it with you, you could run it in any cloud.